Hi guys, so in this video I want to talk about 3 things you should never do with money. So as you know, I've set up this channel because I want to help people with their financial problems. I provide support, I provide articles, I provide information, and it's all around money management, managing your money better. And the reason I set up this channel is because I'm someone that's previously been in debt. I struggled with debts, whether that was student debt at some point. I also became self-employed and I borrowed quite a lot of money, and you'll see a lot of my videos talking about all the loan companies I borrowed from. I then worked really hard to get myself out of debt because I just didn't want to be in a situation where someone has control over me, where creditors are wanting money from me and where I don't have the freedom. So I now am completely debt-free, and I sort of have my savings accounts and everything else, which I'll be making more videos on. So the 3 things that you should never do with money. The first thing is you should never just spend money randomly when money comes to you. You should always have a budget, and that's something I'm going to be doing a video on soon and go into more detail. But I think that's one of the biggest reasons people get into debt, is that they have money coming in and they have no plan for it. So the money comes in, and then because you haven't planned and worked out what you're going to do, what happens is that money just goes on random things. I've done that. When I haven't written out a budget, which is what I used to do, but now I write my budget prior to getting any form of income, is I used to have that money, it would be my current account, and then I would go online and I'm ordering things, then I would go out for meals, then I would think, oh, I've got lots of money, and then before you know it, you look around and your money is completely gone, or you've got you're down to your last £100, and that's because you just spent and spent and spent. You haven't worked out what to spend it on, you haven't done a budget. So that's the first thing. Don't randomly spend your money, always get a budget. The second thing you shouldn't do is to keep borrowing your money to other people. Now, the difficult thing with borrowing is when you've got to ask for it back. Now, because it's family and a lot of times and friends that you're borrowing money to, you're putting yourself in a situation really then where you're having to ask for that money back, and it can ruin relationships, it can make people feel uncomfortable. Although that money belongs to you, by putting yourself in that situation, I think one of the things you can do is to be really clear. So even though this might seem harsh, what you could do is either have a written agreement between you and the person you've borrowed money to, and it doesn't have to be a formal thing, and you're not going to take them to court, or you're not going to do it legally binding. But even if you wrote on a piece of paper, I promise to pay back this amount of money by this time, in these instalments or whatever, I think it just makes it clearer for that person. They can then choose, well, no, I can't afford to pay you back at that rate, or they might say, well, I'm not signing it, and then you say, well, I'm not borrowing you the money then. Because when you've got something written down with clear boundaries on it, then it's just less hassle when you have to phone that person up and say, have you got my money? Because a lot of times, in a lot of cases, they won't have that money back for you. And I know that watching Can't Pay Will Take It Away, it says that lots of families in the UK have money that's owed to them by family members, and they never get that money back. And usually it's the family member that just ends up saying, okay, you don't have to pay it. Or sometimes it's that the person can't afford to pay it back because they're still in the same position as when they borrowed it. So it's down to you. So that's another thing not to really do with your money unless you have an agreement. The third thing is not to wait until you get your money and then have in mind a big plan to spend it all. So what I mean by that is, a lot of people spend their life waiting to get their salary to come in, or waiting for a big amount of money so they can blow it all on like a big LED TV, or so they can blow it on a car or whatever. A better way of doing it is to look at what it is that you want, especially if it's a big purchase, and save towards it. It's so much more fulfilling and so much more of a less of an impact on your purse for you to say, right, I want this LED TV, it costs £1,000. So over the next 6 months, I'm going to save like 200 here, 200 there, 200 there, and then you have that money, rather than waiting for you to get your next salary and blowing like maybe half of it on this LED TV. Because what's happening there is you're buying this massive purchase and you're getting this like temporary buzz from it, but then you haven't worked out what you're going to do when you've only got half your salary this month. Well, the obvious thing is you're not going to pay some of your bills, and then you're going to be behind and back in the situation you've been in, where you still owe people money and you can't pay it, or when you're in debt, or you might end up borrowing. So that's never a good idea to take out a massive purchase. So they're my 3 things. Don't spend your money randomly without having a budget. Don't borrow to friends or family or anyone unless you have, look at my hair, unless you have a plan and an agreement with them. And don't buy massive purchases just because that's like impulse buying. You know, save up for what you need, or wait until you get a big cash sum of something that's coming to you, but don't use your salary for massive purchases unless you've got a plan of how you're going to manage the rest of your income. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video useful. I'll see you again on another video. Take care and have a great weekend. Bye.